it's uncomfortable to build this, discipline and build the habits and do all these things. It's hard. So sometimes I ask them, why do you want to build the business? Why are you even doing this? Why are you even doing this to yourself? You don't need it. So I want to get clear. And as ironic as it sounds, sometimes I challenge them. I like to challenge them. And I will explain why, because I have a story about this from the Air Force. I tell them, why don't you quit? Why don't you stop your business and do something else? Why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you challenging yourself, right? And I do this to challenge them, to help them find their deep why.
Thank you very much for jumping on this conversation today. I'm incredibly excited to be talking about focus, mental toughness, systems, productivity, because I've noticed that it's getting harder and harder to focus nowadays. Have you seen this?
100%. 100%. I mean, if you look at, every platform is created to keep you in it, right? So we are exposed to more and more distractions, right? So the need to be more focused is higher and higher, especially for people that are in business, for entrepreneurs, right? For people that are busy, right, with their life. And it's actually a good thing what you said, because sometimes, have friends ask me, when I tell them what I do, now, like after I left the Air Force, they ask me, like, what would you say to me? Like, what advice would you give me, to be more productive? And I usually say that, why do you want to be more productive? Right? Because the way of becoming more efficient and more productive and, more disciplined and all this stuff we discussed today, it's not easy, right? I like to say that, the way of discipline is a way of life. So you have to put yourself in hardships, many of them, to achieve great things, right? Whatever you're doing with your business, if you want to climb the corporate ladder, right? But mainly businesses, because I work with entrepreneurs. And I always say that, why do you want to be more productive? Because it's hard. So maybe you don't need that because if you have a job and it's fine, and all these things, then because I have some kind of extreme solutions to some degree. Because if you want to be super focused and manage everything, but if you don't need it, then I would say don't make it hard for yourself. But yeah, it depends on what are your goals.
That's an incredibly good thing to figure out your goals, starting off with your goals and making sure that you're going in the right direction before you end off in the wrong direction. Completely agree about that. So previously, you were in the Air Force. You were working part-time and as a coach, and you were able to work up to 10K per month and then leave what you were doing and start this.
Yes.
I understand that you created a system. Can you talk a bit more about that system and helped you get to where you are today?
So I think everybody should have a plan. I think most people start a business while they have some kind of job just to pay the bills, Before I even think about any kind of system, I had a plan. My plan was, first of all, to see if I like it, because I might not like business. I ended up loving it. The second one was to see if it's working. Can I make money out of it? Can I make a living out of it? And then from there, after I had the basics and the foundations, then the plan was, okay, so I remember back then in 2021, my goal was to match the income that I was making with my business with the Air Force income, right? It was just psychological, just let's see how that goes, right? And I actually hit that goal. And then I said, okay, let me take it a step further. So 2022, I said, can I make double with what I'm making in the Air Force with my business, right? And mind you, that was with half the time, because I was working full time in the Air Force, which is not the regular 9 to 5. It's more changing schedules. You have 24-hour shifts and all these things, trainings. So it's very demanding in terms of time that you need. So yeah, I was able to get to that point of making 10,000 a month for a few months. It wasn't super stable, but because that depended on the trainings and the demands that I had from the Air Force. So the main thing here that I want to say is that you first want to have a plan of okay, what are the metrics you're going for? What do you want to hit, right? And from that point, I made the system. So I said, and this is, by the way, one of the first things I do with my clients, because usually people are in this situation. They have their job, or they have like, they have their business. Maybe they're starting out, or they're more like, intermediate in their journey. So we look at their schedule. Let's see how much time you have, right? Because it starts from there. We want to see how much time you have, and how can we use that the best way possible to get you to where you want to go, right? And based on that, we make it a system. Now, for me, that kind of system was, okay, I was forced in a way to come up with a super efficient structure in my schedule, because I was super busy, to make this work, right? So through that challenge, I was able to focus on the few things that matter. And at the same time, all the noise went away, right? So I saw my business. I was like, okay, what are the skills that I need to build here, right? And by the way, like these skills, I always say that, I mean, we have two resources, right? We have time and we have money. You can use money to buy back time. You can use time to make money. And if you have none of it, if you don't have money and if you don't have time, you're busy, right? And you don't have money, then you can use the time that you have, but for a long period of time, right? To build the skills to make the money that you need and do the same thing, basically, right? So for me, I was like, okay, I don't have a lot of time, but I can say that if I can commit to it, I can do the things for as long as it takes until I build the skills, so I'm able to make the money, right, that I need. So this is exactly what I did. And actually, I was like, okay, what are the basic skills that I need to build? So I focused on these few things and I built a structure out of it. So I did the same things for a very long time. And I think like the system that I used to get to that goal, right, of 10,000 a month, was exactly that, just focusing on the basics. It wasn't anything extreme. It was crazy simple. But I think the secret is in the things that you're not doing. So I wasn't distracted. I was doing the exact same things, right? Just for a very long time, for years. I mean, it's nothing complex, nothing like automations or none of that at that level.
Yeah, I think that oftentimes when I first started hearing about systems and processes, I did envision, AI, automation, workflows, charts,
Yeah.
a bunch of numbers. But yeah, like you said, oftentimes it's just, getting focused, getting rid of the noise. And yeah, like you said, it's often not doing things.
What you're saying is perfect. It's like, this is for later actually, because when in the beginning, you have to do the basics, you have to build the skills, right? But as you go, you might need also to have leverage for your time and do all these things, all the workflows and all these things. But all these things seem cool to have, nice to have. And I say these things to my class because like it's very easy to be distracted, right? This is the definition of the shiny object syndrome, right? So you see all these things like, oh, that's cool. Like this CRM is super cool, or this automation is super cool, or this AI is like super cool. And by the way, personal opinion, like this AI, I think it's very useful if you see it as a tool. But in the beginning, you have to put in the work, which is uncomfortable, especially when you know that there's this kind of solution, right? To build the skills. Because if you use it from day one, you will never build the skills, and it will never really be you that you're creating, like the content or like whatever value you provide to the world, right? So yeah, all these things are good, and I am talking about these things to the right people at the right time.
Do you think that focus is a skill or a trait?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's both, and I'll explain. It is a trait. Like some people get that skill, let's say, faster, and others take way more time to get there. So to that extent, yeah, that focus on the goal that you have, that you are going after. But I think some people just need more time to figure out like why are they going for it. And I have this conversation with my clients because, and it sounds ironic a little bit because I have a client that has invested in my services to help them be more productive and help them with their business. And when somebody is procrastinating, has this kind of issue, right? They want to be more disciplined. Like I said in the beginning, it's uncomfortable to build this, discipline and build the habits and do all these things. It's hard. So sometimes I ask them, why do you want to build a business? Why are you even doing this? Why are you even doing this to yourself? You don't need it. You have your job, right? So I want to get that clear, right? And as like I said, as ironic as it sounds, sometimes I challenge them. I like to challenge them, and I will explain why, because I have a story about this from the Air Force. I tell them, why don't you quit? Why don't you stop your business and do something else? Why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you challenging yourself, right? And I do this to challenge them, to help them find their deep why. Because if you don't have that, then why are you doing this? So that reason will help you focus as well. Because if you don't have that, then you don't, like, if I tell you, like, okay, you got, like, limit, how much time you spend on your phone, social media, cut out distractions, set like schedules, like no disturb mode, your phone, to help you, like, to save some time for yourself, right? To be super focused. But all these things equal like some kind of sacrifice. So why do you even need to do that? You need to get back to the foundations and find out why.
I agree. And what did you learn in the Air Force that you told me that you had a story that related to this?
Yes. Yeah. So, in the Air Force, the first like 2 months were the worst days of my life. So, joining the Air Force as a 18-year-old lazy kid, having no interest, I would say, in structure, high performance, discipline, all these things that I'm now doing, helping my clients. So during that time, there was not a lot. It's like I've never experienced more pressure physically, emotionally, and mentally. And whatever I say to you right now, no matter how many hours we talk here, I can't drive this home. I can't. But we had this thing, which, this is the story basically. So when we had like new cadets, right? Myself as a first year cadet, and we were being trained by the fourth year cadets. Basically, that's the system. When somebody was, let's say, struggling, or pretty much with everybody, because it's impossible that you don't struggle in that environment. We had this thing where, like, you can't talk back, you can't like react, you can't look at them in the eyes. You just, you're just there sitting, right? People will scream at you, like in your ear, right? Like, why don't you quit? Let's go quit. You're not good for here. Like, you're not a fit, right? They would say things like that. They will say, like, we call your parents, like they're already waiting for you, like in the gate. Just they came to get you. Here's the thing: they didn't say these things to help you quit, to make you quit. They said these things, but as they were saying these things, right? Because like I said, when I reached fourth year, I did pretty much the same. That was the way it works. They wanted to see you, get more dedicated, get kind of angry internally, and be like, no, I'm gonna prove you that I'm for here. I'm the right fit. I can do this, right? They want to see that determination in your eyes, right? And for me, and I'm getting chills. I'm saying it right now because it's so profound. Like when you dedicate to achieve something and you give your everything, right? And you don't have to prove anything to anybody. It's to yourself, right? And I do this with myself also, like, and I say this to my clients. That's why I challenge them. I want to see that, that spark in their eyes. Like, why don't you quit? Why don't you do something else? You can find like a high income job and whatever. That's not the point. So I want to see that challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's an incredible benefit through going through hard times and experiencing those things. The thing that I was thinking about when you're talking, and I haven't been part of the Air Force before, but I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's my sport, it's my love, and I've done it for 10 years now. And the amount of pain that you go through and the amount of just, like, I've cried on the mats before, just openly wept because of like exhaustion, and your teammates are there and they're pushing you, and
Yeah.
It builds something in you, and it definitely translates from what we were doing before to in this business context now. So
yes, 100%.
it's an amazing thing to be able to be resilient and have this mental toughness, which I think we all need, especially in business. It is one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life.
I was actually doing karate for 9 years almost. I like it so much, and I like the spirituality, of the sport, right? And actually, the medal you see behind me, that's a domestic championship, and like I had the same like determination there as well. So I was trying to be the best, like always. Like I was really good actually, and like but and every time that I was losing a game from somebody, then I couldn't. I would think about it about him like all day. Like, okay, how can I beat this guy next time, right? And I had that like, and every time then I would beat them, and then I would go to the next level, right, and to the next level, and this with everybody, right? It's just like this determination, this devotion to the thing, to the craft, or whatever that is, right? And yeah, I think that helped me in all these experiences and lessons that all these things have helped me in business, because I mean you are competing with yourself, right? But I think you also need that to be competitive, right? And in a healthy way, like not and kind of give it your everything, and not accepting, not tolerating, right, to be mediocre, right? Just go for and hone your craft, and be the best that you can be at the thing, right? And never stopping, improving your skills. And I get this question from clients, is like they're saying like, actually I had a call with a client yesterday about that, and he told me like, why do I feel that my program, my course is not good enough? And actually, like, I mean, he's like starting out, and I said it's very very normal. But the thing is, like, as you go, you're becoming better and better. And the fact that you're saying it, this is what I said, tells me that you're very like you really want to deliver value to your clients. It's not like you don't care, because if you didn't care, then you wouldn't say this to me. You wouldn't ask me that question. So as you go, you grow your skill to become better, and the longer you do this, then the better you become at it, and the more value you can give. So this is it's kind of like normal to have that, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, for sure. Over our progression, we are learning to focus more and more every day. There's going to be moments in which we're not perfect. We're going to stop. We're going to slip. How can we just get back up to where we were before?
This is an excellent question. This is the definition of mental toughness and self-discipline. And these two are very different. And I'll explain why. When you have momentum, when things are, by definition, momentum means that, good things happen to you, and then you just keep doing good things, or you are executing, you have your habits, and then you just keep doing them, right? So that's easy. What's hard is to have a very bad day, even if that's, you slept in, right? You missed something, you didn't put in the work, you weren't focused, and then you lose momentum. That's when it's hard. And that's when you need to stop the pattern and go back to, all right, I'm not starting again tomorrow or next week right now. I'm just stopping the pattern and going back to it. Now, you asked me, how is that possible? How you can do that? This goes back to the daily life and everything that we do. And for me, this is how I'm practicing it. This is how I'm teaching it to my clients. You have to practice being uncomfortable and making hard choices in your day-to-day life. Like, there's no exercise that will help you practice that, or like, you feel bad and you go back to execute, because I can only say that to you, but for you to actually do it, in theory, it sounds good, but as a practical tip, if I tell you, just start the pattern and just go back and execute, that's anybody can say that. Now, how you actually fix that, quote unquote, right? How you become better at it is by becoming more disciplined and building this mental toughness. Now, this is the question: how do I build this mental toughness so when the time comes, I'm able to go back to executing and doing what I need to do, right? And what I know I need to be doing. And the answer to this is what I started saying, that you need to practice that on a daily basis and making these hard little choices. And that can be literally anything. It can be, if something feels very comfortable, make it uncomfortable, right? And it's whatever it comes to your mind. It's like maybe, you know, you want to go somewhere like where you live and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go by foot because that's more uncomfortable. Like if I can drive there, it's easier. Or you know, you take a hot shower, maybe like let me make it cold, let me see how far I can take this, right? Or you like you want to get up early, right? Can I get up earlier? Not because like has like it's like this constant challenge with yourself, right? Not because like you need it or you know you should do this or because your business depends on it. None of it, right? And people saying like, you know, there are people making millions and they don't getting up 5 a.m. And I get it, right? Of course. But there is like this constant challenge with yourself when you're practicing that I still got this. Because even if I, you know, with what I do with my clients, the in the program I teach them that like how to practice self-discipline and we're practicing together so they can then do it on their own, because there's nothing that can, you know, make you I'm now disciplined and never again need to practice that, because that's exactly what it is. So yeah, it's you basically need to have like this hard choices every day, and whenever you feel that you are very comfortable right now, how can you make it uncomfortable, right? Or the other example I can give you is the one more example. Is like, okay, not right now. Let's say you're doing outreach, right? You're sending people messages to people, to potential clients. Maybe you set a number, like let me reach out to 10 people, 20 people. When you get close to that number, you're like, let me do one more. Can I do one more, right? And you do this all the time with everything. And when you do that, then you get all this feedback back to yourself that, wait a second, I got this. Like I'm capable of doing it. And I'll take another story, because this is one of my favorite stories from the Air Force. I call it emotional versus physical capabilities, right? That's how I call it. So again, first day is in the training, right? There's very physical, like challenging and emotional, mental, all these things, right? Very, very challenging. And of course, like every, you know, like it is in the military, and probably like you see in the movies, right? You have all these physical challenges, like, you know, you got to do the, you know, the push-ups and like all these things and the, you know, whatever you're seeing, right? And it doesn't matter how like muscular you are or how you like going to the gym, or, you know, because we had it, like I was there, like I said, 18-year-old, and some people were bigger than me, right? I was like, you know, skinny kid, right? Going in there, I'm like, okay, let's see how that goes. And I realized that it's not about that. And I will explain. To go back to the story, they never said, you know, give me 10 push-ups or 20 push-ups or 50 push-ups. That was never the case. Never. It was always start giving push-ups. You don't know the number, right? So you just start doing it. And what they want to see again is like when you feel the resistance, when you feel like, you know, your hands start shaking, your sweat comes down through your nose, right? It's exactly what I'm saying. It like your eyes, like, you know, everything is super intense. And that moment feels like ages, these seconds, right? You're just there under pressure, like keep going, one more. You can't stop, by the way. You can't put your knees like on the floor. And that is the moment where you feel like in your mind goes, I wish I want this to stop. Like I can't do anymore. I can't do no more. Like not even one more. And that's where the magic happens, because they would say, all right, give me 3 more and you're up. Like all this suffering will be over if you give me 3 more and then you're up. And always, like magic, you do 3 more, like you just started doing it, like none of this has happened, and then you're up. And what I realized from this is that this is the emotional versus physical capability. Physically, you feel, you're thinking in your mind that I can't do anymore. I'm done. That's it. But emotionally, or like whatever you want to call it, spiritually, you were always capable to do it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do this, right? You just fall down. You were always capable of doing it. Now, there are 2 lessons to this. One is that if you believe that you can't do something, doesn't mean that you actually can't. I know it sounds like very normal. People say this all the time these days, but it's actually, this is my story. This is the example that I'm giving you. And the second thing is, whatever challenge you're facing right now with your business, and this is my favorite, correlation between these two. I see every situation as three options, or two-ish. So one is you quit and you just go back to whatever else, right? You just quit. And the other one is you keep going. Maybe you have a third one, which you just do nothing, just sitting there in between. But I would say like these are the first two options is what you have. So for me, in everything that I'm doing, I just completely taking out the option of quitting. So when you take that out, you're not even considering that, right? You're not even thinking about it. You just, okay, I need to figure this out. There's no option of quitting, of backing away. So to go back to the story is like, my favorite lesson is that I see business the exact same way as this situation. You are struggling. You have something that is challenging, right? You feel like it's never ending. You feel like I'm never going to get out of this. So maybe I should quit. Maybe I should stop. Maybe I should put my knees on the floor, right? Just stop the pain. It feels like ages, but you don't know when it's going to stop. But there is a way out. You can still do this if you keep going. If you take out completely the quitting option, you got to keep going. And I did this, and I used that mindset when I started. And many of my clients know this story because they always ask me, like, how were you able to do this and get to this point when you were so busy and it was so hard, obviously, and why are you so disciplined? Like, how is that possible? And I always say that, man, the things that I've been through are not even close to any challenge in business. The combination, maybe like, maybe some people might disagree, but the combination of physical, mental, emotional, there's nothing like it. So yeah, that's the story.
I completely agree. 100%. Like, the mind is a beautiful thing. You can achieve amazing things, and sometimes, you just have to tell it, hey, we're doing this. We're not stopping. And
yep, we're in it.
It's crazy. Konstantinos, could you tell me about one of your clients and tell me about a transformation that you've seen that, comes to mind when you think of like, hey, I'm really proud of that client and where they were and then where they.
Well, I have many names come to my head right now, many examples, but two of them that stand out. I'll actually say one because you asked me about one. So he's actually like literally my second client starting out. So not a lot of experience with clients, but he had like the best transformation. So that was back in 2021 when I worked with this client, and he had a IT business in tech, right? If I'm not mistaken, and I helped him. Basically, he was very big. Haven't learned because I was doing this for weeks and months, right? And after that point, he saved so much time that he said, "Why don't I start another business?" And he started a second business with his extra time after saving time, from the time management and all these structures that we built. And he started a second business, and it actually ended up being like a 7-figure business, the second one. And then we stopped working together because there was nothing else that we could do. It's like ultra, productivity machine. It's like really good. And I actually reached out to him a few weeks ago or a few months ago. It's like, hey, how's it going? Long time no speak. He's like, I have 3 businesses now. I'm still applying the things that you taught me. And I'm like, man, I'm proud of you. Super proud of you. So yeah, I think this is the best example that I have, and I have a few more come to mind. But yeah, this was something else. Like, it's like it shows you how many things you can achieve if you use your time wisely. You're really focused on the things that you want to achieve.
That's cool, man. I really like how your end goal is not to like have someone on a like retainer for the rest of time, but you're actively working towards a place in which like you're done, and they can just go on and they've achieved these beautiful things. That's amazing.
100%. And this is, I had this exact conversation with the client yesterday, and I mean, he renewed, and we work together for some time, and he's like, man, we had our last call anyways yesterday, and he's like, I loved everything we did here, like it's amazing. I showed my structures to another business that he's working with, and they were amazed, like there's nothing that they can do here. So my goal is this, like you don't need me anymore, like you're doing great. And some people have a call with some people, and they're like, I ask them, what is the goal, like why are you even here? And they tell me sometimes like, oh, I need somebody for accountability, right? Because it's very common these days, you have a coach for accountability to kind of push you. And I say, if you're here for just accountability, then that's not the right thing for you. But I tell you this, what I do with my clients is I'm trying to help them turn this external accountability to internal accountability. And this is what discipline will do for you. Because external accountability is basically like saying, you told me you're going to do these things, go do it. Or why if you didn't do it, right? But when you build the habits and the discipline, and I teach you how to challenge yourself and get in that mindset, then you can keep yourself accountable. You don't need anybody else. And I think that's like a very powerful place to be in terms of mindset. And that's the point where you can focus on your business and like the actual stuff. And I think one of the big things I'm talking about is that everybody's looking, and that's because of the shiny object syndrome or the shiny strategy syndrome. Depends on how you see it. People are always looking for the next strategy. What's in the trends now? What's the next big thing that I can do that can revolutionize my business? But the reality is that you already know the strategy. You're just not doing the basics. You don't do the boring work. So it's not about the what, it's about how you do it, right? And how much you do it and how long you do it without stopping, because it's super boring. I always say this, like it's boring. You do the same things. I wake up and I celebrate these things, because sometimes I post stories and I'm like, I'm taking a photo of my laptop here, and I'm like, plan for today, same thing as yesterday, let's go do the boring work. So it's like I'm celebrating that. I'm like, what's the plan? Or I have like networking calls with people, like, what's the plan for today? Just the same thing as always, same work. Like nothing changes. Like I don't try to find like the shiny thing or the shiny strategy, or this automation, this AI. AI is like new right now. So all these things, right? So it's stay focused, do the things that you're doing for a long time, and there's no way you don't succeed with that, or at least you hit your goal until the time is right to implement some systems and more advanced stuff.
That's powerful. Konstantinos, thank you very much for this conversation. I feel like I could just talk with
Thank you.
You're an amazing storyteller, and your ability to, man, I'm going for a run. This is crazy. I'm loving it. And yeah, man, this is inspiring, man. I'm loving what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me here. It was a amazing conversation. It was a pleasure to share these stories with you and everybody who is listening or watching us, right? So yeah, thank you so much.